my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to Chaotic Risk Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticrisk.com. Our special guest tonight is songwriter, bassist Chris Clemence. We've talked to Chris a few times before in the past. Welcome to the show tonight, Chris, and we'll be talking to you about, you have a new band called Bad Blood, so could you tell us all about the band and how it came together?
Oh, definitely, man. Thanks for having me back on the show. Yeah, Bad Blood is my new band. We're signed to Extreme Music on Sony. We're about to put out our debut record, so we're pretty excited for it. Yeah, Bad Blood kind of came together in a really interesting way. Previously I was a solo artist, and I was doing, songs for placement and licensing and different things like sports and movies and commercials. And I had a record deal to do that, and I started, collaborating with a couple guys, one of which was Chris Iorio, who I was previously in Adelita's Way with.
Okay.
We started writing some songs together, and then I met Chad Cherry, who's the singer of Bad Blood he's also from the band The Las Vegas.
Okay.
And we have Kenny Borrell on drums, who's an amazing, phenomenal drummer. And it kind of just, happened. We were originally just going to be working on songs for placement, and then we're just like, oh, wow, these songs are really strong, and the band feeling was just kind of there, and we're like, we should just be a band. So that's kind of how it happened.
And like you mentioned, you were primarily a solo artist before, and you've been brought in on other projects to write, but you're really known for your songwriting as well. What was this project like as far as getting a chance to collaborate with other people and not doing a lot of the writing just primarily yourself?
Yeah, it's been great. Still for this project, I do a lot of the writing. I do, the majority of the lyrics and the melodies and stuff. But, working with Chris, I had worked with him, 10 years back previously with Adelita's Way. So we know each other as writers really well. So it was kind of an easy fit. And then, having the other guys on board, too, who are also great, throw in their ideas and song melodies and things here and there, really helped just form what we got going right now.
And have you guys done any live shows yet, or is that to come?
That's going to be coming. So we just finished up the new record. It's getting mastered at Abbey Road Studios in London right now.
Oh, wow.
And then the label's going to put it out, and once they do, we're going to be posting our touring schedule, and we'll have some dates up there, and we hope we get see everyone out at the shows.
And right now, I mean, like you said, you'll be posting the dates on your website later, but I was kind of curious, tour-wise, is it just kind of a sporadic dates around here and there, or are you planning to do a major tour across the U.S.?
That is to be seen. There's stuff in the works that I can't really talk about right at the moment, but we do have some pretty awesome stuff that we're lining up. So that will slowly unfold in the coming months that everyone's going to see. Now,
of course, Bad Blood, it's not just your solo project. Like you said before, you were primarily a solo artist. So while you are definitely bringing your influence into this band, was the writing any different as opposed to where, when you're a solo artist, you can kind of just, do what you want? Did you write the songs, and did you have to think about, if other band members would like the songs or not? Or, what was the process like there?
Sure. I mean, with these guys, they're all such professionals, and we've all, done it in other bands that have done some cool things. So we kind of, it's not our first rodeo, so to speak. We know what to expect, but with these guys, it's kind of the dream team. It's easy to work with them. We're all on the same page. Sometimes if you write with certain other writers, you can kind of butt heads or have a different vision, but not in this project. And I think that's why we kind of decided to make a band out of it, because it just was happening so naturally and easily with, zero conflict. And that's how I like to do it. So, and then, we have some great producers we're working with. We're working with Will Kennedy. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's worked with U2 and OAR and One Republic.
Oh, wow.
And and Omar Guzmao, who's also a great songwriter. He helped collaborate on a few of these songs, and he's a great producer. So yeah, the team is just super solid. We're just cranking out a bunch of really strong songs. Some of the strongest work I feel that I've ever done or been a part of, and I just can't wait to have everyone hear it.
Yeah, and how excited are you in the sense, like, again, a lot of what people have heard from you in the past has been as a solo artist. So, again, this is because it's more of a band effort. It's going to have a different bit of a sound. And I was kind of curious, as far as the band's overall sound, did that kind of develop as you guys were recording and writing, or did you go into the recording kind of knowing, okay, this is kind of what we want the band to sound like?
The band just sounds like the band sounds. It's like
yeah.
Didn't even really try or think about it. It's just kind of what happened.
Yeah.
We just do what we do. Like, Chris has his guitar tone and style, and I have my bass style, and Kenny with his drums, and Chad, he has such a phenomenal rock voice and such a powerful vocal ability that he really brings the songs to a new life and over the top. Sometimes I'll come to him with an idea and I'll kind of sing it to him in my terrible singing voice, and he's like, "Oh yeah, cool man, I got it," and then he'll sing it, and it's just like, wow, yes, that. So
now you mentioned when the band first was forming or got together that you and one of the other guys was kind of working as a writing team, kind of writing, just trying to write songs. Now, once you got the other guys in the band, I was kind of curious. Like, had you already had some tunes you guys had written together, or is, like, everything on the new album was specifically written for this band?
There was a couple that were gonna be on the record early on, but then once we all got together, the stuff that we were doing as a whole was even stronger.
Yeah.
So we're just like, you know what? We're gonna start from ground zero, so to speak. That's probably why the record took a little bit longer than it originally was going to.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that we took the extra time, because now it's just like, all right, this is the record. And it's a brand new record from all of us. It's Bad Blood. Yeah,
and kind of interesting thing, Chris, like I said, is I've interviewed you a couple times before, and I was kind of interested in getting to know you over the years, and kind of following your career, because I'm talking a little bit about your solo career. You're one of these guys that I would say you really ooze talent, as a bass player and songwriter, but at the same time, you're one of these guys that's kind of remained under a radar, and yet at the same time, you've built a strong fan base over the years for yourself, and so there's a certain number, certain percentage of people out there who do know who Chris Clemence is. They've known what you've done before, and then with this new band, Bad Blood, some of those fans are going to come along. You're going to get new fans. But what's that process been like for you as far as kind of slowly building your fan base over the years?
Yeah, man. It's one of those things where you kind of just do what you do, and then you look back and you're like, oh wow, like some people thought that was cool, or I actually got to do that, or that happened, and I don't know, man. I'm just one of those guys that kind of just live in the moment for it. I just do what I do, and then if people like it and they're digging it and respect it, or want to say oh, I love your song or whatever, that's super cool to me. But I just keep going and doing my thing.
Yeah, and I think some of the most successful musicians are obviously guys that can can or songwriters as well, and my next question was going to be kind of like you're pretty gifted songwriter as well as a great bass player, but
Thanks,
is there one you'd rather be known for, like your bass playing versus your songwriting, or would you say you're equally proud of your ability in both those areas?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it all comes down to the song. Being someone can be a great bass player, and that's awesome, but to me, what's more, I guess what impresses me, like looking at other guys, is like if someone can write a really great, catchy song that, a million people can sing back and they're like, that's cool. That to me is just like, that's the shit right there. That's awesome. Ripping like a cool solo or something, like that's amazing too, but that doesn't make me as excited as coming up with like a really catchy chorus or something, and just knowing like, oh man, that's it right there. That's gonna get people throwing their fist up in the air and excited.
Yeah, because one thing I kind of impressed me about you in getting to know you the last few years is the fact that you're, as a songwriter, that you're one of these guys that has the ability to write, different types of music. I mean, like you said before, you would write as a solo artist. You'd get involved with some of these other projects people would bring you in on. And I know, like, last time I talked to you, you wrote and put out a single about Donald Trump and that, and you were kind of telling people, hey, if you don't like what's going on with the world, get involved. Don't just complain about what's going on. Do something. And then you also wrote a couple, like you mentioned, sports anthems. So the fact that you got a guy here that can not just write for himself as a solo artist, but get involved in these other projects, write for other people. That shows that you're a gifted songwriter. And like you said, you could be in a band with 4 or 5 great-looking guys, but if you don't really have any songs that got any depth or anything, you're not going to go too far.
Oh, thanks, man. I really, really appreciate that. And I agree with you. It's really all about the song, because a lot of people's favorite, biggest rock bands, maybe the musicians weren't the best in it.
Yeah.
Those guys could write a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a great example is probably like Motley Crue. Like, those guys, besides Mick Mars, like, maybe they're not the most technically gifted musicians.
Yeah.
But their songs stand the test of time. People still sing their songs and rock out to them. And
and Motley Crue's a perfect example of that, because a lot of people, unless you take the time to read the the credits and that, might not fail to realize that they just might think if a singer always writes a song, but a lot of those Motley Crue tunes are either written by Nikki Sixx or Mick Mars. And interesting thing is, Nicky has made a lot of his living just off of his songwriting. I mean, and then he did Motley Crue all these years, and then he had that other band 6 a.m. and he kind of he wrote some great songs. And if you put 6 a.m. and Motley Crue next to one another, they were 2 separately different entities. They sound nothing alike, and yet that's the same guy that wrote all those songs.
Exactly, man. That's what I'm talking about. Someone like him, yeah, he's a great bass player and he's a rock star and he looks cool, but his main talent, I think, is his songwriting. It's just, it's over the top.
And again, unless people take time to really read the credits and that, you might think, the lead singer writes everything, but like Nikki Sixx is a perfect example of that band was successful because of that one guy. I mean, a lot of other guys, they didn't, they all pulled their weight, so to speak, and they brought some to the table, but he was kind of a mastermind behind that band, and it's just amazing. One guy could have all that influence on a band,
That's how it works, man, and, but the great thing about a band, too, is, like, not, one guy can do it all himself. Like, even with our band, like, I'll write pretty much all the lyrics and melodies and stuff, but I can't play all the instruments. Like Chad, I can't, do what they do, so I need them as much as they need me, and that's why it's a great band. Yeah, I mean,
again, it depends on the band, because, again, you take a band like even the Eagles, okay? Henley and Fry were great songwriters, but without the other guys in the band, it would not be the same, entity. Everybody in that band brings, even Aerosmith, they've tried to do it without Joe Perry, but and as great as a singer Steven Tyler might be, it's just not the same band without all the original guys,
Exactly, man. It's something magical about, those particular guys in the lineup that makes it what it is.
And you're absolutely right. And I mean, it depends on the band again that we're talking about, but there's some bands that like Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx, kind of the mastermind, and it works for that band. But I feel like you, but a lot of the really good bands are the ones where you can take a band like Kiss. They're going on their farewell tour. They've been doing it like almost 50 years. Okay, but everybody in that band, you got the 2 main guys, Gene and Paul, but everybody kind of has brought their influence into the band, if you know what I mean. And so I do think bands where even the Who, I mean, Pete Townsend's a songwriter, but all Keith Moon, John Entwistle, Roger Daltrey, it would not be the same band without those guys.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, like you're saying, at the end of the day, everyone knows and loves those bands because of their songs. It's not because they had cool hair or could, rip their guitar faster than anyone. It's because they had great songs.
Yeah, and now after recording with this band, you guys recorded your debut that's getting ready to you're getting ready to release. You kind of, this is the sound of a band, but how did you come up with the name? Because I know that's something that's always hard to do, is coming up with the name Bad Blood. It sounds kind of cool, but it's not too complex. It's kind of simple. It's got a great sound. So, how did you guys come up with that?
We were throwing out a few different names, and all of us have, the music industry is such like a ring, three-ring circus.
Yeah.
Like, so much drama and craziness all the time, and we all have our backgrounds and our stories from past bands, and just craziness that we've dealt with, and certain like negative aspects and whatever, and just like the bad blood of that kind of brought us to where we are today, as writers and as people and musicians, and we all kind of share that same. I think every musician does. They can, say, they have their different experiences, and it's like the culmination of that bad blood is like brought us here. Now
on that note, like we were saying, for many years you've been a solo artist, although you've been involved with some other bands over the years, and got involved with some other projects. So when the idea for Bad Blood came up and you guys started thinking about putting a band together, did the fact that you were a solo artist and had that comfort for so many years, did you have any reservations because of past experiences? I don't know if I really want to do the band thing again, or were you open to the idea?
To be honest with you, at first I kind of did. That's why I was being a solo artist for the period that I was, because I was like, I'm over being a band. I'm not going to do that again. I'd rather just, write my songs and do what I do. But then once I started working with these guys, and where it was like, there's really something here. I'd be crazy to not at least, take this try with these guys, because if it was anything less than what it is, I'd probably just been like, oh, this was cool, and I can move on. But no, man, like I'm very lucky to be surrounded by the talent that I have with me in this band, and I'm really excited to work with them. So I'm honored to be in the band. Well,
I can't wait to hear some of the stuff. Now on that note, will you guys before the albums actually start release, we start releasing a couple of songs beforehand, or is it a matter you're going to release all the songs first and then put out a physical CD?
Yeah, we just actually wrapped shooting a little behind-the-scenes video in the studio where we play one of the upcoming songs off the record.
Okay.
That everyone's going to be able to hear. Brooke Hubbs directed it. It's really awesomely shot. I can't wait to get that out there. So they're just wrapping up doing that now, and man, that'll be our first little intro into everyone's headphones, so to speak, and hopefully everyone digs it.
And I know for the years you've been a solo artist, because the music world being what it is today, that a lot of your stuff has been sold primarily digitally. But will people, when this comes out, will they be able to get a physical CD? Have you had any discussion about maybe releasing even a limited number of vinyl or anything like that?
I would love to do some vinyl. That would be cool. That's totally up to what the label wants to do with it. I know that it for sure will be, Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. But man, I love, a good vinyl record. If we can make that happen, I'd be more than happy to do it. It's
amazing, to sit here and talk to you, because, as you probably know, vinyl's been making somewhat of a comeback for the last several years. And, I was talking to a guy recently, and he's telling me, he doesn't even have a turntable, but he's been buying all these vinyl releases that have been coming out, and he's like, I don't even have a turntable, man. I'm just collecting them for a collector's, sake. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And I know there's this one record label, I believe it's Rat Pack Records. They release great little releases from time to time, and they've started releasing some of their newer stuff on cassette, if you can believe that.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's taking me back to a day, because a lot of people. A lot of kids today, we don't even know what's a record, what's vinyl, lucky they even know what a CD is.
Yeah, and Jack White has Third Man Records, which is, a great vinyl source as well. He's been pressing a lot of vinyl too, so it's definitely making a comeback. And who knows, maybe we'll do one with some blood in the record or something like that.
Now, when you guys, you talk a little bit about being in the studio. So did you guys record this old school way where everybody was like in a room together, or did you do it the more modern way where you record your parts separately and kind of piece it together?
It just depends. We did a couple tracks where we played some things together, and then other tracks we did separately.
Okay.
And we recorded the record in a couple different studios.
Mm-hmm.
But it all came together like really cohesively. And
now the fact that you recorded in different locations, that's a cool thing in itself. But did you feel that that kind of brought a different sound to the tracks, if you know what I mean, from studio to studio?
I would say so. For someone who's like super into music or an audio engineer or musician, you might be able to pick up on it.
Yeah.
I'd say most people just taking a listen, they'd be like, oh yeah, this is awesome. They wouldn't think too much about it. But if you really pick it apart, there's some different drum tones and bass tones and stuff. But I think that's what makes the record exciting and cool. It's like,
okay, well, you sound very excited about this new project. Now let me ask you, as far as the rhythm section band, you feel that you and the drummer are locked in pretty tight?
Oh yeah, man, I wouldn't play with him if he sucked.
yeah. And I don't know if I've asked you this before, but as far as your bass playing, I was curious. Did you were you a guy that kind of taught yourself? Did you take lessons?
Yeah. I first started when I was about 14 years old, and I picked it up and started playing in some rock bands and stuff. And then actually, in my high school, the jazz band teacher needed a bass player, so she kind of had me come in and taught me some stuff. So I learned how to read music, and that helped my playing a lot. And then I wound up going to college actually for jazz.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I majored in jazz, so I know how to play all this crazy shit, but now I just play simple rock and roll. But it makes it better because if I wanted to, I can do something that's more complicated than certain.
I would think
parts.
I think it'd make you a more rounded musician in that sense, because again, you got these guys that like, I'm not gonna play anything but rock music. I'm not gonna do anything but metal. But if you learned to play different types of music, for one, you might help you, getting different types of gigs and that. But or even when you go into maybe like produce another act or work with another band in the studio, it might help you in one of those experiences as well.
Oh, absolutely. I really think, knowing as many different styles and genres of music and, how to achieve those sounds, it's like being an artist. It's like you have more paints or more brushes in your toolkit, so to speak. And like you can go different places that you might have not known how to do if you were just kind of pigeonholed in one spot.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you guys haven't really played live yet, but that's kind of in the planning stages. I was kind of curious the fact that here in Los Angeles they just had the annual NAMM convention. Did you or the band attend that, or did you?
Yeah, we were at NAMM. Have a bunch of awesome companies that I'm very fortunate to endorse and work with. So went down there and did all that, and Warwick basses I'm with, Diodario strings, Gibson guitars, Gallion Kruger amps. So it was really nice to go down and see all the guys and just catch up with everyone. And NAMM's awesome.
And so as far as your guys' debut album, how many songs are on the actual album?
This is going to be a 10-song LP.
Oh, great. And I was curious, like, when you guys went in to record, did you just go in, like, did you write the songs as you were going and recording, or, like, do you have any stuff that was recorded but maybe didn't make it onto the album, like, kind of left over?
Oh, yeah, we have a few leftover tracks that were going to be on the record, but we kind of kept topping ourselves a little bit. Like, oh, this one's better. So we took our time and we weeded out the runts, so to speak, and just put in all the ones that we thought were the strongest and that the label liked the most.
Oh, that's cool. Now of course, you're kind of building the machine here as you're going, because this is a debut album and everything. But now that you got this one album under your belt, and hopefully you're gonna do some heavy touring behind it, when it comes time to do album number 2 and you start writing, I was kind of curious, like, because I'm sure as a songwriter you're writing all the times, Chris. So, kind of what my question here is, like, when you write a song, do you necessarily know that this is a Chris Clemence solo song, or hey, this would be a good song to use for, Bad Blood, or does it just kind of depend on what you're working on at the time?
It really, to me, as a songwriter, it's like, I feel like a great song
is a great song.
Do in different styles.
Yeah.
You could take, like, a great Sting song, for the Police or whatever, and you could make that a metal song if you really wanted to, just the way you arrange it, the kind of guitars you put over it. Like, great lyrics and great melodies is really the bones, so to speak, like the soul of the song. And then you kind of take that as an artist and put your style on it, and that's what makes the band have their sound. So for me, it's not so much like, oh, this is going to be a Chris Clemens song, or this is going to be a Bad Blood song, or whatever project I'm working on. I just write something that I think is strong, and I just produced and co-wrote with this client of mine, Amanda Baki, and she brought in a song, and I kind of reworked it and wrote the chorus and stuff. Totally not my normal style of stuff. But what we did together came out great, and a bunch of people are liking it now. So it's really just about doing what's right for the song and letting it come to life.
I mean, again, you take another guy like John Five. That's the guitar player. He's played with Dave Lee Roth, Marilyn Manson, Rob Halford, Rob Zombie. But at the same time, like you, he's a very gifted songwriter, and he's able to write almost with anybody. He's written with everybody from the Meatloaf and Lynyrd Skynyrd to the Scorpions. So again, if you got that talent to write for other people, it's great to kind of get those experiences where you don't have to, you don't have to write all, just for metal bands and that, and you got the ability to write with country singers as well as rock acts or whatever comes your way.
Oh, totally. Even look at someone like Bruno Mars. Like, most people don't even realize it, but they think, oh, he's just a pop star. That guy has like co-written or written songs for so many different artists. It would blow your mind if you knew that he was the writer behind it. It's crazy. Yeah.
And so you guys are any idea, like, if you set a release date for the album, or that's something you're working on as well as we speak?
The label's determining that right now. But like I said earlier, the record's getting mastered right now. So once that's all done and ready to go, then they're gonna pick the release date, and then we're gonna have the big launch for the record. Now,
the video you said you guys shot was you said a behind the scenes type of video, like during the recording. Have you guys thought about a music video or anything yet?
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a couple music videos coming out as well for a few of the singles.
Okay, and as far as the band, like, do you have like one lead singer, or does everybody in the band sing, or what's the lineup as far as that goes?
Yeah, so our main lead singer is Chad Cherry. On guitar is Chris Iorio, and he does backup vocals as well. I mean, we all do backup vocals.
Yeah.
He's probably the one that's doing more of the backup vocals, and then myself on bass and some backing vocals, and also Kenny Burrell on drums doing some backup vocals as well. Yeah, we all do little things here and there, but the main singer is Chad. Now,
talk a little bit about Bad Blood too. Like I said, you've been a solo artist for several years, and it's probably a great thing, being a band guy again. But when you're a solo artist, down to everything. I mean, it is your show. Everybody's coming to see you. You're the man in the center stage. That's not necessarily the case here. You got other 3 bandmates that are in the band with you. Not all eyes will be on you, Chris. Is that something you kind of are looking forward to?
I embrace it, man. It's actually like a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Because when it's just you, it's like if you fuck up or whatever, it's just you. But if it's a band, it's like we're a team, and we all have each other's back, and it's just good to know that we're all there for each other, and to carry the show and the responsibilities, and it's good. It's not as much pressure because we can all help each other.
And so, depending on how the record does, I'd imagine that'll decide a lot of things. But for now, are you kind of putting your solo career on the side, or do you hope to continue to do both? Just kind of work.
No, I'm still doing stuff. We're all working on different things too. A couple of the other guys in the bands have their different projects they like to work on as well, little side projects. And I'm always, working with someone or writing a song. So
yeah,
man, it never stops. You just keep creating, and hopefully something
keeps you busy, and it helps pay the bills, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. And songs have their lifespan of what they do, and sometimes you get fortunate. Like I've had a few that keep going, and people are still listening. They're still getting plays, and it's great. But you got to keep making new content and new music if you wanna do this, because you can't rely on just a record.
Yeah. And now I was curious. Have you ever written for like soundtracks or film or TV?
You're talking about like scoring?
Yeah. Or is that something you'd like to maybe get into later?
Oh yeah, I've definitely done a few things here and there. I've had like a lot of my original songs licensed for stuff, like a Mercedes commercial, Carl's Jr., different things like that.
Wow.
Which is really cool. But I've never really like sat down and scored just like theme music or something that's a little bit different. But I've been fortunate, to license my original music to some pretty awesome things like that.
And let me ask you, like, that's kind of interesting. I never would have thought, like, licensing your music to, say, a Carl's Jr. commercial. Obviously, you know your music's in the commercial, but like when you seen it for the first time, or could you really hear your music that strongly throughout the commercial? Like, did you know right? Oh, hey, that's me playing, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, this commercial like featured my band at the time in it. So we got to be in the commercial, and it said like our name and stuff. And
How cool is that?
Super clear that it was us and our song. So
wow,
that was cool. But then I've done other things too, where it's like a snippet in a movie, and no one's gonna really know except.
Yeah, but it's a cool thing because and yeah, and again, it's a different way to pay the bills. I mean, there are a lot of guys that make their money doing that, and they've actually made more money doing that than when they were actually, in a regular touring band.
It's very true, man. It's a different business now. People aren't really buying music anymore. There's Spotify, there's Apple Music, there's all this streaming. People think that music is free, and touring, can be profitable, but to really do even all right at it, you got to be packing out, amphitheaters every night.
Yeah.
People don't realize it, but there's a lot of overhead expenses. You got the travel, the lodging, the food, the crew, everything.
Yeah.
So that all adds up. So the really only way for a lot of people to even get by anymore is doing stuff like that, and that's why you see a lot more of it happening now with commercials and all that. Yeah.
And and I was curious, like as far as bass playing, who would you say were your main influences? Because unless you're like a Billy Sheehan or even a Phil Lynott or Jason Newsted, a lot of times bass players, they don't really get the attention that say the guitar players. But there's a few guys like the ones I've mentioned that even like what you do. If you're decent enough of a showman, people are gonna pay attention to what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, when I was first coming up, I loved a lot of funk music. So like, a lot of people probably don't even know his name, but like Bernard Edward from Chic was like I was like a huge fan of him, big hero of mine.
Wow.
And his bass playing, like that crazy disco 16th note thing is like so hard to do that people don't even realize, but it's awesome. Of course, guys like Flea, but everyone knows him.
Yeah.
He's super awesome. Yeah, and then even down to guys like, Jaco Pastorius, amazing jazz player, but none of these guys I play bass like, but they were influencers for me and got me excited about it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And so,
yeah.
once you started playing, I was kind of curious. Did you like were you a bass player first, and you kind of fell into the songwriting thing, or did it just kind of all develop at the same time?
I kind of fell into songwriting out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
It was like playing in bands and playing bass. And I always thought, when I was first starting out with some guys, like, oh, the songs that they would bring to the table, I was just like, that they were excited about. I was like, I don't know, this could be a lot better.
Yeah.
And, I wanted us to, kick ass and sound good. So I just, from the start, just tried, my best to do what I could to, bring the songs to a new level. Obviously, when you're starting out, you might think you're good, even though you're not.
Yeah.
But, many years later, you learn what works, what doesn't. Playing it out live is a great test because, if you can get people singing back on the time the second chorus rolls around, you got something good. And if they don't, and even if you think it's great, it's probably not as good as you thought.
Yeah, and you're talking to a guy, Chris, who's not a musician. I'm more of a music fan, if you will, but I love listening to music. But at the same time, that's why a lot of people when they start out, as start out doing the cover tune thing, and people get flack for that. But like I said, I'm not a musician, so for anybody who can get up on stage and play, and even if you're playing other people's music, I got a certain level of respect for that. But at the same time, if you can not only get up and play other people's music, but you can write your own original tunes and do your own original thing, that really speaks volumes. That okay, this person, they've got something, more to offer than just doing cover tunes, if you know what I mean.
Right. Thanks, man. And a great way for someone who wants to get into songwriting is to learn a lot of cover tunes, because when you learn a song like that inside and out, you kind of can see how it was built and what they did, and if you can kind of take little pieces from that and emulate that and create something based off that, you're on your way to being a stronger songwriter.
Yeah, and I would imagine too, like when you're starting out, and you told me like you weren't really involved in as much with the songwriting as you are now. Once you kind of found your knack and you started writing your own original tunes and you're playing them on stage, you got a certain level of pride and a certain level like, hey man, this is really what I want to be. These are my tunes. I'm not playing other people. This is my song.
Oh man, best feeling in the world. Like when you play for a huge show and people show up and they know the words and they're singing it back, like and you wrote them. Yeah, man, that's it's everything. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Chris. Unless you can think of anything else, I think we've pretty much covered everything. What I would like to do is, obviously I'll keep in touch with you, and once the album's ready to drop, I'm able to get a chance to hear some of the stuff. I'd like to maybe do a follow-up interview and kind of talk more in detail about the album once I've had a chance to hear it.
Sure, and I'd love to bring a couple of the other guys on the show.
Anytime you want to do that. Oh, I know what I want to ask you before we wrap this up. I didn't know this about you, but in preparation for tonight's interview, I was kind of on your Facebook page and reading up on you, and I didn't know you were so much into tattooing. Now, are you a tattoo artist, or is that something you've been kind of getting into?
I'm just an artist, man. Like I've been doing a bunch of big paintings, and I've been selling those as well. Wow. And I just started doing tattooing as well. I tattooed my singer, a few other friends. So very new thing, but it's kind of a new art form for me, and it's really exciting.
And now, did you do you have a tattoo shop you do that at, or somebody that lets you come to a shop and do it, or?
Yeah, I've been super fortunate to this amazing, legendary tattoo artist, Greg James, and he actually did like all the Motley Crue's tattoos.
Oh, wow,
a bunch of rock stars. He in the tattoo world, he's like the guy.
Uh-huh.
I stopped by his shop one day and I showed him my paintings, and I said, this is something that I'd love to try and get into, and it's a hard world to kind of break into. They're very tight. Well,
you got to be creative type. I mean that is an industry all in itself. And is that something you kind of, like you said, just fell into accidentally, or did you have an interest in it? Somebody kind of show you and get you into it, or?
Well, it kind of happened that I was doing these, big paintings, and people were buying them, and then I was getting messages from people saying, "Oh man, that would make a really cool tattoo." Like I'd do like these big koi fish or a big like water skull or a dragon or something.
Oh wow.
And then so I was like, you know what, like, if I could do these paintings as tattoos, that'd be pretty cool. And I love tattoos. I have a bunch of them myself.
Yeah, you probably thought of this, but if not, I just want to put an idea out there, especially to promote the new band. Have you given any thought to like maybe the merchandise thing or something to stick in the album, like Bad Blood tattoo?
Yeah, man, that'd be really cool. And I'd love to design some of the merch and do some drawings and stuff like that. But yeah, man, for me it's just like another art form, whether it's songwriting or painting or
that is cool. That's like the other side of a lot of these musician guys, they get into painting. I mean, I know Jason Newsted from Metallica, Paul Stanley, he's gone into painting, a couple other guys. So that now, so you're not actually, like, you don't tattoo people. You come up with the designs, and then the guys that actually the tattoo artists, they paint your designs on people.
No, I tattoo it myself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm on the machine. I'm running it. I've done about 7 of them so far, and they've actually all turned out pretty good. No one hates me yet, so it's good.
That's cool. That's a great creative thing to be involved with. Now, being an artist, I imagine have you given any thought to like getting into this more, as far as like maybe getting some of your designs copywritten and selling them? Because that you could even put out a great I don't know, like an art book of your different designs, or maybe take it to a tattoo shop like you said, and tell these guys, hey, you want to buy my designs?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really thought that far down the road on it. This is like a super new thing for me. That
yeah, and see, that's a cool thing. It's fresh and it's something new, so it doesn't necessarily have to always be about making money. If you're able to later, that's great. But at the same time, if it's something you enjoy and you're having fun with, go with it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, my main thing that I've done for the past over a decade is write songs. But as someone who's creative and an artist, it's always good to kind of change up your creative outlet here and there, so you don't get on something.
And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it'd be amazing, have the music thing going, and you could do art thing, and you could combine the two together,
Well, it's great too, because now with my band, I can tattoo them on the road. I did how many now for my singer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just did his 5th one on him yesterday. He's been coming in and getting a bunch of work from me, and it's just fun, man. Because we're bros, we hang out, and we can joke around, and this is cool. And
it's kind of funny how people fall into that stuff. Because I know this guy. He's a musician. He puts out his own CDs, and he's a solo artist in the sense that he doesn't really have a band, but he records all the instruments. For years, he's been designing. He's a great artist too, as far as designing his record covers and stuff. And he's on the internet, and finally people start contacting him about, hey, I love your designs. Hey man, would you like to, could you design something for my album cover or for our band? And it's great how people fall into stuff like that because of what they're doing with music.
Yeah, man, and music and tattoos and stuff kind of just goes hand in hand. It's just a very like rock and roll thing. It's kind of a tradition, so to speak, and everyone's tattoos tell their story. Or it's so fun too. Like one of my favorite tattoos, it's a small one, but I got it on tour. We were touring with the Scorpions in China a few years ago, and all the guys in the band got the same one, and it's just like one of those things. It's an experience, and I can look at it and just remember that exact moment when we were on tour, when I got it, and it's just fun. It's like a little memory stamp that you'll always have. Oh, okay. Well, that's great, Chris. Now, well, I guess we'll be wrapping this up now. I could talk to you forever and ever, but and I've done a pretty good job so far. But yeah, when you're ready to, hit me up on Facebook, or you got my number. And we could arrange to do a follow-up interview, like you said, maybe with one or two of other guys if you like. And
awesome, man. Thanks so much.
Okay.